I'm going to sit in front right here, and I have the microphone on me. There are things when you're 77, there are adjustments that you make. And this is one of them. I can stand that whole time, but it's more comfortable if I can just sit and be with you. So understanding and what is it based on? And it's interesting to be asked that because for me, for years, I've said understanding is my highest value, even more than knowledge. And then when I got this invitation, I'm going, okay, do I really know what I'm talking about? And so that was really cool to be asked. And when I was base section leader at the Presbyterian Church here, for some reason, there was this conversation about the coffee in the fellowship hall. Well, I like rich coffee. It doesn't make any sense just to have brown water, And so, I was saying, I make my coffee strong, and instead of just 1 tablespoon, I'll use 2 and stuff like that. And I think that's what really should do. It should be a real experience. And one of the choir members, who's a business person, said, that's not a good use of resources. I don't remember if I, at that time, took time to think about where he was coming from. But my attitude was, boy, that's the bean counter mentality if there ever was one. And I do not automatically respect bean counter mentality. I think it's because I'm a teacher. I'm always working with people. And as I looked at this, I thought, if there's going to be understanding, then I need to take time to understand where he was coming from. I don't have to give up what I believe, but I need to make sure that I'm trying to understand where he was coming from. And it was good to be challenged in that way. Because he was a friend. It did not affect our relationship. So to me, understanding is about connection. Information, knowledge can stand on its own out there. But how does it connect with me or how my understanding? So when I came here, it was early on, for about 2.5 years, I was the halftime bookkeeper for Pianos International. And excellent boss, Catherine Skinner, Lushan's wife. She checked everything that I did, and I never felt invaded. She was supporting me to do a good job and sharing with what she cared about. It was very healthy, not ever a problem. And I ended up leaving because I realized my personality is like this, and staring at a computer all day is like that. And I would end up angry at the end of the day, not at her, but internally. But I came to understand why bookkeeping is so important. It finally made sense to me because of all the stuff, all the decisions we were making. I saw, with the pianos they were purchasing, the rentals they were doing. I wish I could take credit for that. That just came because I was dealing with it every day. And it was a gift because I had to learn the bookkeeping. They had a really good program which helped. And I left there with much more understanding and respect for bookkeeping. And I was really glad for that experience. That really helped. Well, when you have this topic of understanding and on what's the basis of it, what do you care about? I care about the experience of understanding, but I grew up with the emphasis on my belief in God. And did I really believe in God? And what was that like? And what did I do? It was all this external. You heard me talk about that external list, which didn't serve me, you know. And in my vocal studio, a standard way that I work with a student is to say, we're going to sing the song, join the song, learn the song. Then we're going to work on something, breathing, singing through a phrase, being in your body. Then we're going to sing the song from the meaning of the song, from the emotion, to do it from our heart. And so we're going to do that with the first verse of Amazing Grace. We're going to sing that first verse 3 times. So the first verse, first time, you're simply singing the song and joining it. The second time, I'm going to ask you to make an appointment with yourself at every breath. Feel yourself breathing at every breath. Be in that experience of that. You're going to notice that the sound changes and gets more full by doing that. Then we're going to sing it again for what it means. Sing it from your heart. Does that make sense? Okay, we're going to join the song, do it again, that first verse, paying attention to the breath, be present in the breathing, and then sing it from the heart, from the meaning. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. So I checked in your hymnal, and it uses the word soul instead of wretch, which I support. You know, right? Okay. So let's do that again. Then just get more comfortable singing the song, remembering the words, and all right. So we're not working yet. We're just joining the song. Okay. Ready? Go. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. Good. You can tell we're more comfortable with that. Notice the way that the melody is written. We really are breathing in the middle of each phrase, right? And so we'll continue to breathe whenever it feels right, and I will conduct. I'll help us breathe. Okay. Ready? Go. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. Yes, and it was really cool to hear the sound be more larger and more secure when you're really breathing on purpose. Did that make sense at all? We were able to. So now, since that works, you're going to sing it. You're going to enjoy breathing when it feels comfortable to breathe. And forgiveness is the key to happiness, right? And so you're already forgiven, right? That God knows who you are, regardless of our struggles and the lessons we're learning. One thing you know is that God accepts you, loves you, and empowers you. That's what's weird. Okay. I didn't turn this off. There we go. Well, actually, we'll turn it all the way off. There. So, enjoy being forgiven. Enjoy being safe within yourself and within God, your source. And then let this song express that. Okay? Give us our pitch again, please. And amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. Now the story in my head is that when we sang that last time, there was more understanding because we had joined the song, we have learned about singing it more securely, and then we expressed the meaning of the song. And so in understanding, there's a coming together of information, skill, and your own connection to it. And that is so encouraging to me because you've heard me explain, I grew up having to believe that out there that didn't have anything to do with me in here. And that's just horsepucky. I mean, you know, it's not life in any way sense that's genuine. Does the idea of thinking about understanding, does it make sense to you? Is it confusing? Is it a challenge? Any thoughts about why in the world I gave you this topic for this month?
We seem to be lacking a lot of understanding in the world today.
Boy, is that true. So I had lunch with a friend of mine. He's my student, and so I support his work both as an artist and as a manager. And out of that, he takes me to lunch, which is really nice. And I could not believe what he thought about what was going on in our government today. I just am going, and yet he's my friend, not just my student. So we really talked enough to be able to say we're listening to each other. That's what we have to do, is listen to each other. I have a friend, she's sung here, Terry, who doesn't have any kidneys. She's waiting for a new kidney and 11 hours of dialysis at home every day. Needless to say, she's on Medicaid and disability. You know, and I'm saying, I think we should all pay for that. She has no family. She needs us all to support what she's doing. And I felt really at peace saying that. And he was sharing, he thought how many people were just, and he knew people in his mind who were just sucking off of Medicaid. Because we were able to say that together and not yell at each other, not attack each other, understand that our friendship was real, even though we had these really divergent attitudes. That was really cool. And so the next week, this past week, we go to lunch again, and he was the one that brought it up about basically we're okay, right? And I'm glad that it was he that was bringing that up. When I listened to you reading the unity principles at the beginning, I believe them completely. But how do we enter that? How do we make that our lives? I worked as a choir director at a Baptist church in Los Angeles that did the Sunday morning and Sunday evening services. It was really clear that Sunday morning they whipped up their guilt feelings, so Sunday night they could go and get forgiven. There was no progress. It was just this vicious circle. And then another church in town just was the kind that had the long emotional sermons and, taking you to this powerful spiritual place. And I was connected to that church for quite a while and I saw no progress. And I asked, and then I was just high school going, what's going on? I don't understand. And when I did my counseling here, after not getting tenure in New Mexico, I've shared that with you. My counselor said, if we're not redoing your hardwiring, your heart, we're wasting our time. Hmm. So how do we redo our and I find that so so intriguing and so fun because part of it is learning to forgive yourself. I'd scheduled this for later in my talk, but I feel like I'm supposed to do it now. So my nephew, who lives in Tromsø, Norway, he teaches at and works at the Arctic University of Norway in Tromsø, above the Arctic Circle. And he loves being there. We're sure he's just going to stay there. And so he came to visit because his parents live in Tennessee and his sister lives in California and his aunt lives, So this is his summer visit. And he always comes and visits us. Well, he's a wonderful arranger. He's a computer guru, but he's a wonderful arranger on the piano. He says, could we do something together? So we took this, because every year for Mother's Day, he arranges a hymn for his mother, who plays it on the piano. Could we do that together? But we had more fun. And he wanted more information about the chords he was playing with, because he wonderful ideas, but his theory is not as strong. And we came to a place we were both really tired. We did it for a number of hours, where he was, okay, there's that sound. And I, being the PhD musician, saying, you have to make sure that that sound is taking you to the next sound. Okay, right? Because there's this energy that then gets resolved over there. Well, he was spending more energy filling in the notes, da 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 da, rather than. And when he would get a chord, he would stop on that chord. I just jumped in and I made it really clear that we need to not just stay there, not just fill in stuff. We need to go from here to there. Well, we made good progress. And after he left, I went, I didn't ask his permission to do that, to enter that kind of forceful intensities. The sharing, yes. So if if you know the the Montana author James Welch, his wife, his late wife, is my voice student. She comes works because she had a stroke. So cool. So we were talking about this, talking about understanding and what I had done. She said, "Yeah, you handed him a filled cup," which means there wasn't any sharing. I was going, you know, you know. So I sent him a text saying, "I'm sorry, it was, my opinion is fine, but forcing it, without asking your permission was not fine." And his response was, "I just assumed there was a misalignment of communication. It was just fine. I don't have any negative feeling about it. I wanted to do that again." But his accepting that was not as important as my copping to it. That I got some understanding about myself, that I'd crossed over that line because it's something I really care about, and I was tired. So I'm very grateful for his accepting that. But I'm grateful to myself that I went, "Oh crap, that was not good." And understanding in the old English way of the word understanding means standing among. So if we understand something, we get in the middle of it, and it informs us and guides us. That was so cool because Lois and I were talking about the understanding and how cool that was. Then I looked it up and it's among, not to stand under this, but to be in the forest, you know, to be, it isn't just under a tree, it's to be literally in there. And so that was really encouraging to me to be in the middle of something. So whenever I have a friend who's just gone through a divorce, who needs to get an apartment for her and her daughter. And as soon as she gets close to getting an apartment, she freezes because she's so terrified of living alone for the first time in her life. Just freezes. And I get this, "Oh, I feel like it's a spiritual attack." Don't believe that. Do you believe in God? Yes. And saying, you have to find a place to live so you don't lose your daughter to your ex-husband. And you need to find a place to live so you don't end up sleeping in your car. She listened and said, "Thank you." And I says, "You have a parent who's there trying to work with you. Now get on the phone and call your parent and ask for help." And one of the things that I've talked about this here before, if you have to have your feelings, trying to shove your feelings down and say, "Don't feel that way," that just never works. That's a guaranteed ulcer if you want to play that. This is be afraid, but ask for help. To be in the middle of her situation, not see it just like that. And the phrase "to walk a mile in his shoes or walk a mile in his moccasins," I'm going to read the poem that's from. It was fun looking that up. Helps if I turn this back on. There we go. Martha Lathrop in 1895 wrote this poem. That's the year she died. And the internet didn't give any reason why she died, just that's the year she died. She was um, suffragette poem. Uh, what's the thing about alcohol? All that stuff. It- right. Yes. Right. So she was very powerful lady in her day and stuff like that. But the poem was originally called Judge Softly. Of course, now it's come to become Walk a Mile in His Moccasins. Forgive me for reading at you, but this really struck me. Okay. Judge Softly. Pray, don't find fault with the man that limps or stumbles along the road, unless you have worn the moccasins he wears or stumbled beneath the same load. They may be tears in his soles. There may be tears in his soles that hurt, though hidden away from view. The burden he bears placed on your back may cause you to stumble and fall too. Don't sneer at the man who is down today unless you have felt the same blow that caused his fall or felt the shame that only the fallen know. You may be strong, but still the blows that were his, unknown to you in the same way, may cause you to stagger and fall too. Don't be too harsh with the man that sins, or pelt him with words or stone or disdain, unless you are sure you have no sins of your own, and it's only wisdom and love that your heart contains. For you know, if the tempter's voice should whisper as soft to you as it did to him when he went astray, it might cause you to falter too. Just walk a mile in his moccasins before you abuse, criticize, and accuse. If just for 1 hour you could find a way to see through his eyes instead of your own muse. I believe you'd be surprised to see that you've been blind and narrow-minded, even unkind. There are people on reservations and in the ghettos who have so little hope and too much worry on their minds. Brother, there but for the grace of God go you and I. Just for a moment, slip into his mind and traditions and see the world through his spirit and eyes before you cast a stone or falsely judge his conditions. Remember to walk a mile in his moccasins and remember the lessons of humanity taught to you by your elders. We will be known forever by the tracks we leave in others' lives, our kindness and generosity. Take the time to walk a mile in his moccasins. Isn't that beautiful? I had, brand new. I just was, you know, as I was looking up all this stuff, that phrase came up, and mm. So thank you for letting me share. Because when I think about coming here and talking, I'm going, these are people that are living what they believe. I'm going to come here and talk something, and am I going to make it sound like I'm making them wrong and they need this? They need what I have to. You know, I walked in this building today, and though I did not have that thought this morning, but when I walked in the building today, I went, that is so cool. If I had that thought, that would not fit this space. So thank you for being you, for listening to me. Um, I've made many mistakes. I've hopefully learned from them. But one thing I know, and Linda can vouch for the process of this with Course in Miracles. Makes me cry. We have a source that we can completely trust. And sometimes, like the kids in Texas that got, the flood, we don't understand. But love works and fear doesn't. And thank you for being such models for that and giving me a chance to share what I believe. And I'm so grateful for living now so differently than I grew up, trusting God, trusting our source. That means for some weird reason, I got to trust you. Damn. Thank you very much. Yes.
Meditation time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Therese asked me about that. So my meditation is always a body scan. So we come to ourselves and we send out our greeting to each other. I think that's a perfect metaphor for understanding. Okay. So we close our eyes and we feel ourselves sitting. We feel what we're sitting on and what we're leaning against. We hear the sounds in the room. We feel the warmth in the room. And we place our attention on our feet. Then we lift our attention to our legs. Then we place our attention on our thighs. Then we move our attention to our pelvis, our pelvic girdle, our sit-upons. Then we lift our attention to our lower back. We lift our attention to our upper back. We place our attention on our shoulder girdle. Then we move our attention out to our shoulders and down to our arms. Then we place our attention on our forearms. And we move our attention down to our hands. Now, following our arms, we lift our attention up to our shoulders, and again into our shoulder girdle. Then we place our attention on the back of our neck. We lift our attention to the back of our head and our ears. Then we place our attention on the top of our head. Then we move our attention to our forehead and our eyebrows. Then we move our attention into our eyes. And out to our nose. And then back into our cheeks. And we place our attention on our lips, tongue, jaw. And we place our attention on the front of our neck and our throat. Then we move our attention down to our chest. Then we place our attention on our abdomen. And we focus on our breathing. And now we place our attention on our heart space. And from our heart space, we send out a glowing light of greeting to everyone in the room, acknowledging their presence and offering our complete acceptance. And now we place our attention back on our breath. We feel ourselves in our bodies. We feel what we're sitting on and leaning against. We feel the air in the room. We listen to the sounds. And when we are ready, we open our eyes. Namaste.
We'll now do our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. We are the light. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love. The power of God protects us. We are the power. The presence of God watches over us. We are the presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And we'll